Yeah, welcome, DJ Bush baby. Welcome to Big Conversations by Ordinary People podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored and very extremely humbled to be here.
I'll tell you, all the honor is ours.
And of course, I'm really number one very grateful that to be alive today and for us to be here and have this conversation.
Yeah,
I'm just thankful for the gift of life, and I'm happy. I'm looking forward to learn so much.
Yeah. No. It's interesting. We've
and also share.
True. We've known each other now for I think maybe 2 weeks or so. And
rightfully so.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, for these 2 weeks I've been extremely inspired by you coming around the studio and talking and telling us the vision you have for the future and most of this stuff, and also you come with a vast experience. You've been in media I think for all my life, I'll say.
Very humbling.
Yeah.
I'm so old, man. I'm so old.
Well, I mean, they say yeah, exactly. So I would say the honor is all mine. I'm very, very honored and humbled that you accepted our invite to be on the podcast. To kick off the conversation, let's start with the future. We'll come back to the past later, right?
Yeah.
Most of what we are talking about with you, outside the podcast is
off the set.
Off the set is how we are going to rethink content creation, content distribution, the content creators themselves, what their relationship is in the industry, the media houses themselves. And I wanted to first sort of pick your mind on that vision. Exactly. Exactly.
So for me, there's no obvious formula. There's no obvious channel, but I'm really excited about even just to be alive at this point in time and witness the journey, the evolution, the dynamics, the landscape. Obviously, with a specific regard to what happened the last 2 years. To me, it's very exciting. It's very exciting to be a creative at this particular point in time. I'll really try and simplify it, but for lack of a better word, first of all, we are witnessing a transition in number one, content creation, if I may start with that. Me and my peers, when we came in, we had an issue of technology. Technology
it was too expensive to make anything.
Had to come by. We had to rely mostly on our colleagues in Kenya. I guess because of their proximity, geographical location. It was probably much more easier for them to get these things. And so technology was a big problem. And when I wish guys could see the behind the scene of what is here. It's amazing to see over 3 cameras, which was a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And so for me, that alone as a tool to enable storytellers, especially the young ones who are coming in, the ones we are leaving space for, it's exciting. Just that ability alone. And then also the other thing is the stories themselves. The stories are just so many. There's that cliche that Africa is the next frontier
for storytelling.
The biggest stories, hence big media houses, big distribution outlets from other parts of the globe that are really there's like a gold rush to come and cash in. All those are opportunities. I didn't know, honestly, in my lifetime that I would be alive and witness this happen. But also the shift from just being at the mercy of one national media house. Then around the 90s, when the media and the communication area got liberalized, and we had FM coming in, a good number of radio stations coming in, and over the years we saw television and broadcast coming in. And now we are seeing another shift where these big media houses are now at the mercy of individual,
actual content
powerful, personalized brands. I remember having a conversation with one of my CEOs back then. This is Mr. Kapshenga, I don't know mention his name. When we were starting Urban TV, I told him 2 things will happen. One of them, we might have to shut down Urban TV. maybe 5 to 7 years from now. And he was like, why? I told him because audiences are, the dynamics are, the ground is shifting.
Yeah,
Audiences are going to move to some other devices, which is now commonly known as, I think, the second screen. Those are phones. And of course, as data becomes cheaper and available and more accessible to the masses, definitely the conventional way of broadcasting and disseminating information and, the so-called transmitters and all that huge technology is going to become obsolete. So we might have to think ahead of the curve and position ourselves and shut down this traditional way of broadcast, and we go online. And I was like, okay, he didn't really buy into it, but it's a projection I saw. Then I told him another thing is there are these young talents, young creatives that we've employed. Presenters, producers, video editors, cinematographers, videographers, the whole 360 production process. There's a lot of talent. Again, 5 years from now, these are going to be powerhouses in their own individual rights. You'll find a morning show host becoming so powerful. Today, you call them influencers, market test leaders, for lack of a better word. They will become powerful in their own right. So he asked me, so what are you trying to say? I said, what I'm trying to say is, how is the HR department going to deal with that new development? Are we going to look at these young people who have now become bigger than the business, bigger than the investment? They command a lot of power, and the clients or customers would probably rather prefer to connect with them directly and push their brands and all that. Are you going to look at them as competition, allies, consultants, specialists, or you will just get rid of them and then how many can you get rid of? Because that's the employable workforce. And here we are.
Exactly.
We have influencers, and an agency would rather contact an individual brand than go through the dynamics of by the time a sales exec goes to an agency to pitch, the agency has really reached out to an influencer, and automatically that is a dent in your revenue base. So how do you handle that? How do you work with these young people who are now emerging powerhouses? They're influencing. One tweet just changes opinion. One communication, one Instagram video, one TikTok video shapes opinion. How are you going to deal with these things? Then, of course, now things do with a conflict of interest. A guy like Bush Baby is employed, and yes, he's employed, but he also has his own dreams and his vision, and his vision seems to be competing with what makes him employable. So how do we work around these dynamics? And it's interesting that all these things have come to pass, and here we are. So what I'm saying is that for me, the future is exciting to witness all these things happen and the ground shifting and all that, and it's up to the creatives right now to harvest this new power, this power that they have. I see people on the TL. I'm more active on Twitter, and you see people training. It's because of people like you. Now it's called what, the gig economy. Because of the gig economy, and that's a powerhouse. For me, it's exciting. People to get paid, out of their passion and the things they've loved and then legitimately went to school and studied. It's exciting. So for me, the future is bright. Despite the challenges we're going through, the future for me graphically is bright. And I didn't know honestly that I would be alive and witness.
I see. This
shift.
And one of the things that has come to my mind again is, part of what we are also trying to do is partner with individual content creators. And I think one of the people that we reached out to was Tina Fierce. So when we had the conversation back and forth, she was very clear that I'm okay with you guys with sort of partnering with you, but when it's my time to move, when I get a better deal somewhere else, I want to be, whatever way you design the legal terms around how we partner, when it's my time to move on, I want to be able to move on, right? And it obviously it seems that's very rational from like the perspective of the content creator. But then when we go and talk to the guys who help us draft these contracts and all that, the guy was very clear to me that sort of for you as the house, this is not a good deal, right? So there are two ways to look at it, but he was clear that if you invest all this in strengthening her brand, and you reach at a point where, because again, most of what we have in the studio is affordable, right? And that is how we've managed to stay in business. Producing has become too cheap that we've also started a company that produces. Right?
Not a simple thing.
Yeah, well, so yeah, exactly.
Don't underestimate yourself. Not a simple thing.
What she was saying, rather what the legal advisors were saying is, we still have to, what media houses do, right? We still have to put something in the contract that traps the creator, right? Because if we invest all this, and at her peak, she says, you know what, let me get a loan and move, because now I already have the numbers. I know how much money I'm actually making. And right now, maybe I'm splitting 50 with you guys, but that other 50 can guarantee a loan that I can pay back in half a year. I don't need you, right? So the advisors were like, I know you sort of, again, this is hip, you know, you want to empower creators and all that, but this is a bad deal for you, right? But from our perspective as well, when you look at, say, brands, for example, yourself, right? When you look at you, DJ Bush Baby, when you look at Tina Fierce, we want to partner with people also who bring that kind of, the audience, right? People, for example, watching this, mostly because they know you and they're interested. You know, we pushed out on our Twitter that, you know, you'll be on the podcast, and we got that attention. And that's the same thing with her as well, right? If you bring on Tina Fierce, she comes with an audience. She's quite popular on
the
internet.
Thing, I believe right now we are at a stage where it is a give and take, you know, and give and take based on value. We're all gifted in different ways. There are things I'm really good at that you are not, and there are things you're really good at, you excel at, and I'm not. So we are now at that point where everything is now based on value. What value are you giving? Are you giving me, and what value am I giving you? But again, don't forget, this is a business. Okay?
True.
It's a business, and because it's a business, you have to be not only motivated, but you have to be driven and guided by a certain framework. I mean, I'm all for collaboration. I am what I am today because I've worked with so many people. But I mean, human beings are human beings. Sometimes you get a good deal, sometimes you get a bad deal. You learn and you move on, and what works, you celebrate. What bombs or tanks, you know, you pick up pieces. But I need to emphasize that the situation you just explained requires to be guided within a certain framework. Again, it depends on what agenda. If you want to partner with me, you want to partner with Chiboneka, Uncle Mo, Emeka, Tia Fierce, Kanare Mbume, Samson Kasumba. What is your agenda and what is their agenda? If those agendas are somehow correlate or they match, then you find a way to coexist. And that coexistence, of course, is defined. There's a legal angle, there's a business angle. But yes, the legal advisor is right. There has to be a certain framework under which you operate, because it's give and take. It's give and take. Of course, being business, you have interests. You also have to protect, and the other party also has things they need to protect. But as long as the relationship, it's like a marriage. It's like a marriage. You take out something, and you also throw in something.
You
can't come in and say yes because we are the biggest. We have XYZ subscribers, so we're going to bulldoze you. As I said, we're now at a point where the landscape is actually leveled. What you think you can do for me, I could probably do it on my own.
With a phone.
It's just a matter of time. So for me, the key thing is how do we merge energies? How do we synergize our creative energies, our experiences, and move together and achieve something bigger? I mean, I could go solo. I could go on my own. But as they say, if it's a destination, I'll reach faster. But if we go together, we can reach further. There are so many ways we can look at it. But again, I'm for collaboration, but in a much more defined. And because we're talking about it's a business, and when it comes to money, it amplifies certain things in us as human beings. So you need to protect certain legal clauses have to come in, and you you sort of ring fence your interests for yourself, and but you coexist.
Yeah.
You coexist.
Yeah, so I want to move the conversation a little bit to also hint on the past. So when, again, I'll be very honest, the first time we talked, I was extremely impressed. So the vision you shared with me was, how, all this content, first, all the work you've actually shared with us right now, it's overwhelming, our editing department now. Yeah. But the thing is, how much of this, how much of the passion and the drive you have right now is inspired? So I know like a couple, is it a year or so back, where you had a tragedy, where you had the accident.
It's an awful episode, and I'm glad it's over.
Yeah. And I've also noticed, whenever we speak, you remember to reassure everyone that you're glad to be alive, right? Mm-hmm. And how much of like your passion today is driven by such a moment in life? And how much of it, obviously, is driven by you being a guy who had plans even before that moment in life? Yeah.
So the way I move right now, I'm in a very peaceful place. In a very peaceful place, in a sense that it's good to be alive, and retrospectively look at your life, and you go back and look for Kenneth, and you have a conversation with Kenneth, and you're like, in the past we have interacted, and I wronged you, I bruised you, I misbehaved, and I did ABCD, and I didn't treat you well. I am sorry. I was probably not in the right state of mind. I probably had a situation going on, or it was just a bad call, or I was selfish, but I'm human. I'm sorry. I'm able to reflect on my bad decisions, or every decision that I made that went south, but I'm glad at least I made it. It's better than not have made it. You reflect on that moment. You're like, okay, these are the lessons I draw out of this. I'm also at a place where I'm celebrating my wins. The big wins,
of course.
The big wins. So it's a beautiful space to know that you can still reconnect, especially with the contacts that really matter. You get back and you're like, look, we went through this. We burnt our fingers and we learned what we learned. But let's keep the flywheel,
sort of making amends.
Spinning, yeah. At a personal level, I reached a point where I went through some fatigue. I spoke to Fat Boy of RX Radio the other day, and he said maybe it's midlife crisis. Others will call it retirement and all that. But I probably, even the episode of that situation of I went through that tragic accident was, I think, the universe was telling me, take a pause. I think you need to take a pause and just think through things, and what do you want to see, what do you want to be, where do you want to go, and just reflect. And I've done a lot of reflection, on my personal life, my professional life, my career, and my relationships, and so much. So, as a person, I'm free. I'm at a very happy.
I see.
Happy from. I'm at a happy place. Number one, but number two, it's never too late to learn. I'm 47 years, proudly 47. It gives me great joy and pleasure. When I came into the industry, me and my peers, I keep saying this, we came in purely for passion. We were excited, we were energetic, we were discovering things here and there. We had nobody to guide us, hold our hands, and take us through the journey and all that.
Yeah.
So we found out a lot of stuff, the hard way. By 25, I was still under my father's roof. I was not paying rent. We were chasing hot birds, as you guys call them today. You understand? I was not buying food and all that. So we didn't have responsibility. So we had time to experiment, fail, learn, fall, get up, and things like that. Now, guys like you at 25, you have responsibilities. You have to pay rent. You have baby mamas that you have to take care of. You have a young sibling who's probably about to finish a semester, and the minute they hear that Kenneth Akola, you become the source of income for everything.
guardian,
You probably have a parent who's going through a terminal illness and they have to be flown to India or wherever, or to a big hospital. So your generation has the passion, but at the same time you have to balance that passion with responsibilities. You understand? So you have to make money. You understand? And me, the time I've also spent in the industry, but now I'm also realizing that yes, I think it's about time I also cashed in on what I've given the industry, and I'm observing and learning that from guys like you. You understand? Because me now, I don't have time to experiment. I'm towards the end of there's a point to get to, and you realize that your energy, mentally, emotionally, physically. Think of all the attributes that make up a human being. Those intangible things. There's a way you go into negatives. That's when you start choosing your battles wisely. You choose your hustle wisely. You choose the things you engage into wisely. How you spend your time wisely. The conversations you engage into wisely. Now you guys have that energy. I don't have that energy anymore. So I have to be careful how I roll. My 24 hours, I really have to be very calculative. You understand? But the most important thing is that now you guys have to cash in. You have to cash in. Now it's not just a passion. Now it's a business. I mean, you have electricity bills to pay. You have AC to pay. You have a crew back end. Seeing photographers all over the place. You have to pay those guys. There's a set. All these things you have to pay. You understand? So for me, the motivation now for you guys and even myself is how do we, if I may borrow words of my colleague, Josh the Fixer, how do you avoid a dying, a broke genius?
I see, yeah.
That's very sad. I mean, he's a very wise guy.
That's also very good.
He's a clever dude. We've come a long way. So how do you avoid, how do you go away from, I mean, there are so many legends we have in this country, so many cultural icons, political icons, social icons, but when you look at them, man, it's even just reflecting on my own situation when I went through and I had to do a public harambe to raise funds, and it caught guys off guard, but again, life is life. You might have a problem or a situation that requires 4 billion for you to get 4 billion to get out of the situation, and in your bank account you have 1 billion. So what do you do to raise the other 3 billion? So we have to make money at the end of the day.
And I remember you also talked about the value of keeping those friendships, where people can come through for you even when when you don't have the personality to pull resources. I think that's
the key thing is be authentic, but don't be naive, because you can be authentic and be naive, and people take advantage of that naivety. But be authentic, just be really. It really costs nothing to be modest, and most of the times we do these things, and we don't know the kind of effect or the kind of impact it has on people. Personally, again, I'll keep referring to that episode because it's a major episode in my life. The feedback that came after that video of me calling upon public support to go through this pain and become who I am today again. The generosity really humbled me. At some point I would just break down and shed tears, and as a human being I got overwhelmed, but it's because of that social goodwill, that social capital. I didn't know the small gestures of kindness, the small gestures of just listening to somebody, the small gestures of somebody running into you in a shopping mall, and you leave your house and you want to go and do your shopping. It's a private moment, but someone stops you, and you spend a whole hour in the shopping mall, and you're talking to them, and I didn't know those moments are priceless. And for me, it was like they were giving back. They were like, that is our guy, and I don't take such moments for granted. And I encourage every young person out there. Yes, you're in business, you're in this creative space. Aggressive as it is, it's a man eat man kind of situation. Have some humility. It costs nothing to just listen to a young person and give them guidance, and have empathy, and however aggressive you are, have time, make time for people, and you just never know. these are angels. I'm big on faith. I'm Catholic, but big on faith. These are angels. These are blessings in disguise. So again, as you network, I have another colleague called we call him a Comrade Otoa.
I know Otoa. I know Otoa.
He has a hashtag called only quality people. As you network, as you interact,
5 a.m.
always
club.
look for quality people who will add value to you. People who won't waste your time. People who will people you can indulge into constructive discourse and conversations with, and people who will push you to elevate. You understand? As I told you, I've reached a point where I feel I'm tired. I feel I want to lay low. I feel I want to lay back. But then you meet people. I find myself in situations where people tell me, "Hey, you can do this. You did this, but you can. Why don't you bring back what you did? You can still do this." So when I'm back at home and I'm in my four corners on my bed and I'm thinking, okay, these people actually believe I can. You understand? So the people who force you to elevate, to level up. When you think you've done it all, actually you haven't even scratched anything. You barely scratched anything on the surface. So have engagements like that.
So one of the things also that I've noticed again from the interactions we've had is you have a big vision for content creation, right? I've looked at some of the content you have in the pipeline, overwhelmingly much, right? I want to pick your head on what you think is missing, right? We started this podcast, which we actually evolved through to even build the company that now owns it and all that. We started it because we're inspired by things like Joe Rogan's podcast or, the Portal by Eric Weinstein. And that was sort of the goal, to just have people have conversations, something we don't have to invest a lot. That was the idea first, come do something easy, go back, do your day job. And then, when you get time, meet and talk, right? And then we realized, we actually like this. We started piling on equipment after equipment. And now we are doing music videos. We are going into film. We are doing all that stuff. But the few things personally, I did some film course when I was still youngish. And personally, I've seen things in film, for example, in Ugandan film, that I think I can change, right? I've looked at some stories and I say, you know what? If I had the opportunity, I would do this. I would change this, right? Right now, I own my own production company and I have scripts sitting, right? It's not as easy as I imagined it when I was critiquing, right? And I'm wondering, and I've seen your work, right? I'm wondering, what is it you think is missing in the content creation space? It could be creating content for TV, creating content for the internet, whatever it is that you think you're personally in the best position maybe to solve.
I'm not the alpha and the omega. Yes, there are so many other people who are probably much better than who do things probably much better than how I do my things. But I'm not here to set rules for the industry, but it's just an opinion. Now that we are blessed with a leveled playing field as creators, I think there is need. You realize everybody's a journalist because of mobile phones, everybody's a photographer because of mobile phones, but I think let's take time and revisit the fundamentals of some of our activities, from editorial policies. How do you take a good picture that comes out with the character or framing and things like that, and then most importantly, the ability to tell stories. And as I said, for you guys and now everybody moving forward, it's not just passion, it's not just a hobby, it is a business. How intentional are you? I mean, I've seen you've invested in a lot of stuff. So how intentional are you in ensuring that these things, have return on investment?
Themselves back.
So we have to be intentional. How do we become intentional? Depending on your niche or your market or the people you want to serve, what problems are there that you've identified that you're able to formulate or generate solutions and monetize your solution and get paid. For me, those are the key things I take out from the current space. We are now immensely blessed. The platforms are here. There's so many young boys and girls, entering the industry. Yes, they need guidance, but the key thing is, for me, if we can only master how to tell the stories, we have a huge space of stories that are yet to be told. Okay, it's a chance now to redefine our narrative, not only as Ugandans but as Africans. For long, our stories have been told by foreigners from the other parts of the world, and they normally twist it, to suit their other agendas.
Yeah.
So now we have a chance. Now that we have the gadgets, we have the technology and everything, we have the chance to reshape that narrative. I keep telling guys that for me, the day journalism, for lack of a better word, the day it died was the day Colonel Gaddafi was martyred. If you notice, there's no professional video of Gaddafi being martyred. You understand? But it was a grainy, some grainy footage taken by some Kabiri D, as they call it. But that footage aired on Al Jazeera, BBC, Sky, DW, RT, all the big networks globally. Why? Because it was a powerful story of Colonel Muammar Gaddafi being martyred. Yeah. You understand? So, for example, yesterday there was a huge downpour. It rained. So what? How are you going to tell that? I mean, there were floods in why you say.
How are you going to share that story, basically?
Gogo was flooded and all that. So, what is your perspective? What is your context? What's your angle? If you were to tell what happened yesterday, I mean, we haven't witnessed, rain. Had rain in a long time. So, but it was news. I think it was like a national power outage. So, if you were to tell that story of what happened yesterday, what would be your context? How objective? How balanced? How factual? How all these things. So there are fundamentals we need to revisit. I know there are people who have, for lack of a better word, invented the creative space, which is okay. I mean, it's not cast in stone that if you're a lawyer, you can't be a storyteller. Everybody has a story. But there are guiding factors, the traditional guiding factors that we need to pick up that should work hand in hand with business principles. That is what that's my take.
I see.
I hope I rightfully answered.
Yeah. No, that's true. And one thing you've reminded me also is how individuals have taken the power to tell their stories, right? For example, right now there is a big war going on, Russia and Ukraine, right? Yes. And when you go on the internet now, previously you'd have to sit on CNN and they would publish the curated images they have, maybe the American government tells them you have to only show stuff where this is happening and that. But what's happening right now is, there are people with phones in Ukraine who are like shooting, the missiles actually flying over their heads. They're sort of, they're reporting like in the actual war, as victims with first person like effect, right? And this is something that
citizen journalism.
Exactly. And this is
that brings me to there's an elephant in the room, which is the industry of fake news. As you guys, as we go about telling stories and all that, we need to be careful about certain things. I mean, there's social media, there's online, and there's whole. I mean, news now really comes in real time and all that, but we need to be able to guide those who are not able to access that kind of information in real time. We need to fact check. We need to question. I mean, if I see a video on TikTok of a missile flying, how certain are you that it's actually from Ukraine? It's
that's a good point. That's a very good point.
So these are the things I'm talking about. Everybody's a journalist today, but how authentic is your is your narrative? Is your story? So we need to be factual. We need to be objective. We need to be balanced. And again, fake news is an industry. You never know. The guys who are posting those things are also. It's a business to them, and they're seated somewhere in some room, and they're on keyboards, and So there's a reason why that war is going on. We can have a local perspective, we can have a global perspective, but I guess that's a conversation for another.
True. So one of the other things we aim to do as well was to make production cheap, right? And one of the big barriers I saw, for example, right, when I was in, I participated in the program called Maisha Film Lab for filmmakers, right? And right now we have very tiny cameras, but they are way higher quality than the machines, the big film machines that they had at that point, right? And the thing that I noticed, and many people have noticed as well, is how expensive it was to make a film. I remember I forget her name. There's a female director who shot the first Ugandan film on Red. It's one long film, but it's 3 short films in it that don't connect, right? And I remember we went to the National Theatre to watch that, not because we cared about the story, but because someone has shot a film on Red, right? Today, compare that to today, where Red has quality cameras, but you can find a camera that is 10 times, that's what's the word, a tenth of the price of Red, that can execute a clean quality picture, right? We have, for example, we are piling up Black Magics in the studio, right? They're really cheap, but they have quality cinematic pictures, right? And our vision is to make sure, if say, DJ Bush Baby, or if one random guy on the street has a story to tell, they have a plan. They come to us and say, you know what, I don't have money to do real production. Where can we meet, right? We are able to sit with him and say, hey, you know what, give us a piece of the pie and we'll produce. But even if that kind of content doesn't end up generating the money back, we are not breaking the bank. We are not going out to get loans. It's not $100 million budget, right? And the vision we have is, how do we keep this cheap so it's accessible, So again, we let people, even if most people are now telling stories with their phones, right? Yes. So you go to TikTok, a guy mimics a politician, and that's his sort of way of telling the story. But even if you want to tell slightly more complex stories, you want to create a narrative, you want to add effects, you want to do all that stuff, there's a place, we want to make, and hopefully we're not going to be the last, right? We want to make sure that alternative is there, that I saw this film by Christopher Nolan, I'm very inspired, I want to do something similar to it. I don't have the money. We tell you, hey, you know what? Here is our alternative. We're not going to make Christopher Nolan film, but something's close at almost nothing, that will cost you almost nothing. And, again, part of what we're talking about, right, is you and, you came with a box of hard drives, right? You and a lot of content, right? And I imagine you probably never formalized the thought. We've thought about it while we are building our company, but you've also noticed that there is value in having the freedom to create content, because you've had your content, some of it, and you just held it until you're ready to publish it. To create content where it's not breaking your bank, but when you're ready to publish it and say, you know what, now I need to talk to Vision Group about this project I have. You're ready, Yes.
No, I must applaud you for embarking and undertaking such a crazy level of investment. I mean, there are very, very few people you find who throw their money in something like this. But I have to assure you that be patient, tactically. This is for a big cause. As a business, it takes time. It takes time. Have your roadmap well mapped out. But it's a good thing to offer an alternative. I mean, 10 years ago, as a television executive and manager, on a daily, I would end up, by the time I leave office, I would end up in a pile of documents in form of scripts, ideas, concepts, and I never stole any of it. Someone would sign non-disclosure agreements and all that. But it used to pain me, it used to hurt me, like looking at all these things, all these ideas piled up in the tray, and there's just simply no resource.
There's no capacity to produce that.
To execute all this. So for me, again, it warms my heart. It excites me to see that now those scripts can now be brought to life effortlessly. And thanks to people like you and many others who are also other techies who have taken up the initiative to invest. And it's a good thing. And let's push for more collaborations. You're heavy on technology. I'm heavy as a visionary and
creativity. True.
There are those who are heavy on storytelling. There are those who are heavy on business. There are those who are heavy on advertising. There are those who are heavy in marketing, PR, and all that. If that constituency grows, and we shall become a force to reckon with. I mean, if you look at what has happened through the pandemic, there are amazing, beautiful stories out of the pandemic, and all these came because of resilience and consistency, and people showing up and getting burnt and becoming better and all that. I can happily name a few. Look at Fatboy, Jameson N with Reckless Radio, RS Radio. Who knew that? It's the first online radio.
Yeah.
You understand? And if you look at Team, you look at how it's making business sense. You listen to it, and within 30 minutes, the kind of promos or ads you hear are almost like top 10 corporate business entities. You're like, wow, this is amazing.
And it's
this is
breaking
amazing.
back,
You understand? You look at Davis the Doc, Rocket Health.
Davis is a good friend of mine as well. Yeah.
I now don't have to go to some random clinic and sit, and they take my blood sample and I wait, then I go see the doctor, then I go they take my weight, and then you understand, you simply log onto an app and the guy comes home and they take your stool or your blood or whatever, and the results are instant and there's a prescription and you move on. You understand? All these are beautiful innovations, and these are powerful stories. These are things we should be celebrating. When I look at, I did a documentary hand in hand with another partner known as Voices and Beats Records. They're based in Machinde. We did 2 titles. One of them is Creativity in the Age of COVID-19, and we were basically profiling stories of the COVID-19 story of creatives. How was curfew on them mentally, emotionally? How was the lockdown on them? How did they manage to stay afloat? How did they manage to smoke out and smell the opportunities that the pandemic presented? And if you go through the footage, the responses are, we captured these are rich stories. And they are timeless stories. 20 years you will look back and you will be like, can you imagine there was a time when...
Exactly.
When
the whole Uganda was like a boarding school.
We used to order food online. We used to order drinks online. We were just at home and there was nothing to do. Like 24 hours, we were just in... You understand it? It's archiving these elements of our life in this time and day. It's very important. So let's be patient. You said you saw me with a ton of hard drives and all that. Yes, that is stuff I did ages ago. And right now I feel like the market is ripe.
It's ready for them.
They're ready, and it's time to make some money off it. I will insist on the money bit.
I agree with you totally.
It's painful to be broke.
I agree. So what I do is I have a few friends, for example, who have tried to ask to come and work with us, right? So we've at some point we had a very low supply of editors with a high demand of people who wanted their work edited, right? And some of the people I talked to were working for not just some were working for TVs, but some are working for like the big media houses. We have Swangs and what. And my pitch was, come and build with me, right? Come and build with me, and maybe I'm just not a very good salesman. I wasn't able to convince them very well. But what advice do you have for people who want to transition? So I know most of the hint I had for the conversation was, right now I'm in the corporate world, right? I may be a creative. You may look at me as an editor, but I'm a 9-to-5 guy. The paycheck comes on the 23rd or whatever, and I'm relying on that to buy milk for my baby, right? For example, what advice do you have for a person like that who wants to transition, but not in a way that is going to sort of blow away his life? His life doesn't have to he doesn't have to take huge amount of risk, but he wants to transition from a corporate life into a more independent creative life, for example.
Well, as I said, I think in my preamble, in my opening remarks, there's no straight formula. What I share is basically purely based on my journey and what has worked for me and what has not worked for me. It's good to evolve because when you evolve, that's how you stay relevant. Today, what we're seeing today might change tomorrow. So how do you stay relevant tomorrow? I'll use myself as a classic example. From a basic journalist to a regular average radio presenter to a DJ, playing in club, radio, TV, weddings, name it, to a TV manager, TV executive. You can see that that's a transition. And that transition was intentional. Ideally, what is your purpose? What is your why? As you're employed,
I see.
as you're going on about what you're going on, whatever it is that you're engaged in, there's a question. What is your why? Why do you exist? Why do you do what you're doing? What do you want to achieve? If you're able to answer those questions, they will define your journey. So if you're in the corporate world right now, I learned the hard way. Unfortunately, I'm so unfortunate that the things that make me employable is my side hustle. I wish I would say I'm a farmer.
I see.
I wish I would say I want to do poultry. I wish I would say I want to do something else that doesn't compete with what makes me employable. But I always find myself in situations of a conflict of interest. That's what I was telling you earlier on, that if you're like me and you work for a big media house and you don't necessarily subscribe to the agenda of the media house that employs you, of course, which is your bread and butter, how do you then work together so you can also push your vision, your dream, and everything? I mean, you're not going to force me to invest in transportation because I'll end up into a conflict of interest. You understand? So there has to be a scientific way for us to coexist.
I see.
And this is what I told my CEO back then. I said these things will happen, and we need to have these conversations. Graphic as they are, but they will happen, and these things are here. I mean, all you started is journalism. Are you going to be employed by a media house forever? No. You understand? So there has to be a way that we can coexist, and when people like you come in, you offer alternatives and you enable people like us, people like other young people who also feel like they have a need to tell a certain narrative, but they are caged by certain terms and conditions where they are. You understand? But I mean, any other person will tell you, don't be stupid. Don't compete with your employer. For the 8 laws of power. Don't outshine the master. But man, you also have to get somewhere. You have a purpose.
You have to think of yourself.
But just be careful about it. Just be smart about it. And if you're able to pull it off without getting in trouble, well and good. If you're able to diversify and do other things, well and good. But I mean, that's the situation. But again, evolve intentionally. I mean, I don't do hip hop, but in 2016 I did a hip hop project. I'm not
even coming to that, but exactly.
You understand?
Yeah.
There's so many things. If you're an artist, how can you leverage off your brand equity? You have a big name. How can you leverage off that? So there are so many ways. I'm glad that now the landscape, as I say, offers us a huge array. There's a huge avenue of opportunities that we can tap in. I mean, even as a media practitioner, right now I can transfer that experience to some other field.
I see.
Comfortably. So be intentional how you evolve.
Yeah.
I just told you from the decks. Now I sit in boardrooms. After this podcast, I'm going into a boardroom to negotiate a business deal and all that. And I mean, who knew?
Exactly. And that's also where I wanted to drive, right? So there are two things I have to talk about, right? So as a DJ, you've been a DJ, and that's what mostly you're known for, right? And you also have this huge project. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it. For now. Okay. So you have that huge project. You know what I'm talking about, right? But you're also doing other work, right? So you've managed to, and again, just stop me when I say things I shouldn't say. You're partnering, in tourism, right? You have which is still, because what you're offering again is most of what your creativity, what you've built on your whole life, right? As a DJ and as a media personality. And you've transitioned. You've sort of now juggling them. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So you're doing what you're saying. You're going boardrooms. You've been an executive. You're still doing content creation. It's not very far from DJing, right? Yes. You're going into content creation, but now for a totally new field. So I also want to get a picture of how you're balancing all that. And do you have you come up with a goal? Do you say, for example, there are farmers here. these farmers don't know that if we hire some girls to dance in their farm, you know, like
as an example.
Yes,
and I said again, all these things are intentional. You have to be practically intentional and focus on those particular set of things you want to pursue, and each thought leads to a certain action, and that action opens certain doors. By the time you realize you've met so many people, and when you engage those people, when you interact, you find that your conversations and the principles and the values that you all subscribe to sort of merge. You understand?
I see.
So the whole thing is again, I'll keep repeating this: be intentional about what you're doing. As you get intentional, life is about self-discovery. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No,
Keep
it does.
discovering yourself, of course, within the framework of your craft. So whatever I'm doing, if you notice, whatever I'm doing is within storytelling, within content, be it tourism, be it entertainment, be it corporate work. It's within the agenda of communication, and of course the bedrock of communication is content. Whether it has to do with technology, name it, whatever field it is, it has to do with storytelling and content creation. And for me, that is it's like IT. There are people who are running IT companies, and when you see what they're into, there are those who are IT and communication. There are those who are running televisions, media houses. There are those who are running ISP companies. Define what you want within what you're good at, and then other things come in as complementaries and as you network and meet other people. But yes, diversify, but use whatever experience you get. Think of something else and diversify according to the prior knowledge that you have, and as you diversify and you engage into something else, you realize you discover something else, and it leads to something else, and you keep. Learning never stops. Learning never stops.
I agree.
Yeah, learning never stops.
I see. So one of the things, probably not so exciting topic I wanted to talk about also was how to manage. So writers call it a dry spell, right? I'm a software engineer, like my full-time job, and we call it burning out, right? Those moments where
you hit a block.
Yeah, you hit a block. You feel extremely uninspired. You feel like, how what advice you have to people who would want to learn how to manage that situation, especially for creatives, people who do creative work. Most people I think even people who are in corporate world, they get that, but there's a sequence. You have to still wake up tomorrow if you're in the bank, and you have to go and enter the numbers in the Excel sheet. But as a creative, sometimes it feels like this could be the last time, right?
Okay. It is very unfortunate that as creatives, we are radical, we are so extreme. A thought comes because I believe inspiration is perishable. An idea comes and you want it now, and it's very dangerous with the current generation of creatives. They burn out easily. Someone uploads a video on TikTok, and within 10 minutes they have 2 million views, and they're like,
Yeah.
Then they look for another height, and it's not there. Number one, it is very fine. It is very okay to feel bad, to feel sad, to be tired, to be worn out, to be fat. It's very normal. You're a human being.
It's a human thing.
Even machines, robots, dismantle and break down. Computers shut down, they crash. So number one, it's very okay for stuff not to work out, for stuff to fail, for an idea not to work out. I'm told in China, designers jump out of buildings. Coders sit on the computer and the thing's not happening and gets frustrated and they jump off, and like the suicidal rates in that part of the world, I'm told, are quite crazy. So calm down. It's okay. It's okay to feel like that. Secondly, pace yourself. Bite what you can chew and swallow. Don't take on an overload of things, and it cuts across even business. I'll give you my work, I give you down payment, you got your pay rent, you haven't yet delivered. Another client comes and gives you a down payment, you pay national water, you haven't delivered. Another client comes and you pay Yaka, and then Friday comes, deadlines, and you've done nothing. And so be organized. Just be organized. Organize your life. This for me again, is from experience. I've been in situations where it's been boom, 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 boom. Then I crash. Like, okay, I've learned something. Another situation, another scenario, boom, 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 boom. Not the same mistake, but another new mistake. Like, okay, so you understand. So you pace yourself, but most importantly, take time out. Like, get off the steroids, man. Creativity is like a steroid. You want to see it now. No, it's not like that. Take time out, pace yourself, and roll out what you can. And an idea takes time. An idea takes time to be accepted, to make money, to make sense. That's why you see developers and famous inventors from centuries. They came up with ideas, and some of them their ideas have outlived them because they could not perfect them. Other people, I mean, the guys who invented aviation, I wish they could see
where we are right now.
By, airports and things like that. Now the Elon Musk of this world are now thinking of
going to Mars
and look at Zuckerberg and I mean all these guys. So take your time, do what you can. And there's also somebody who's worried about something else that you're probably not good at. So pace yourself, but most importantly, it is okay. It's very okay to not to be inspired. You wake up and you're not inspired, man. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. It's okay to feel like that, and let the day go. And tomorrow, when the sun rises, another opportunity and new energy will come up, and you seize the moment, and you roll with it. But be organized. Be organized.
Yeah.
If you're not organized, it becomes a problem.
Yeah. One of the, usually when I'm in circles of especially filmmakers, right? One of the question is, and usually I come with the pitch, what I told you before, we're allowing you to do your work cheaply, but most people are not convinced by that. They say, but the vision I have still requires money, right? But one of the barriers is it's hard to find local funding, right? So if you have, say, script, say there's a movie I watched a long time ago, I think, called Phone Booth. It was about some guy who was held hostage, who was on the phone booth, and I think the wife was held hostage or something like that. Even if you're making a movie as creative as that, and the movie is about a phone, and you tell MTN, this movie, if we use an MTN phone, it is the best product placement you'll ever get, right? It's very hard to find funding for work before you do it. Usually it's easy to do the work and then sell it. Okay, it's not as easy, but it's easier. But on the other hand, going to pitch to people about ideas that you've not yet executed and telling them, hey, I want you guys to come on board with me. Say I'm making this film, or I'm making, some of the projects you're making. It could be a documentary, it could be like something about tourism that is so big. It's hard to bring this vision out, right? But you, on the other hand, you've managed to meet with people when we're talking, you're signing contracts with some big entities. How, what if I'm looking for funding, where do you think I should start for my creative work?
Number one, you have to look for the money. The money will never look for you. Something has to give. Something has to give. It's unfortunate that we're in a small market. Just an emerging economy, a developing economy. So the issue of funding does not only affect creatives, it's everywhere. I mean, I might have 10 acres of land and I want to do agriculture. I'll go to the development banks and all that and get rejected. I probably don't, I'm not entitled, I don't have the specifications to acquire a loan to enable me. So the issue of funding is very dicey. But with creativity honestly, we are our own limitations. With creativity is use what you have. Use what you have to bring the idea to life. Drop the idea out there in the market. And there are people who observe, there are people who watch, there are people who follow your craft. You just never know. One of them could be a billionaire, could be a millionaire. And then also, as we whine and complain that there's no money to bring ideas to life, what is your idea? First of all, what is your idea?
Yeah.
Are you talking about your idea and whining how it can't come to life because
it's so basic,
just for the sake of it, or there's something you've seen and you need to offer a solution to that? Because ideas are here to push businesses and offer solutions to the consumers and the people we serve as creatives. So come up with an idea, use what you have, basic as it is. As long as someone sees that this can actually solve my problem, the money will come. It's not as easy. I mean, it's easily said. I can sit here and say it, but from experience, I've done it and it has happened. That's the only way you can raise funding. use what you have. If it's one camera, why are you whining over? I want 9 more cameras. What can you do with one camera? If you have one lapel,
that's a very good point.
You have an auditorium. What can you do with that one lapel to make sure that you get stuff out of that auditorium and then throw it out there, let guys see and let feedback come in, and that's how you will be noticed. But otherwise, you will die with your content and keep, have it archived somewhere, and you'll die frustrated. It's very serious. So use what you have. I mean, where we are seated is these are palettes.
Yeah, exactly.
But creatively put together, and it's amazing. Looks good on camera. I mean, it's good. This is good stuff. Now imagine if you had waited for, I don't know which furniture shop to get expensive furniture and import and all that. Then
we're actually trying to wait for that.
You get a designer from New York to do for your logo, but you did your logo, and this is not even expensive furniture, but we are here and this looks good, and there's substance. So use what you have. Start with what you have. Put it out there, and that's how you'll get noticed. But most importantly, what is your intention? What are you? What is your idea? What is the big idea? Unpack your idea in the most basic way you can, so people can understand and be able to onboard you or spend money on your idea.
Yeah, some people were some of the other people I had similar conversations with were convincing me that the alternative is to create some sort of institution. So, for example, and I was thinking about adding that also as part of this company, where we bridge the gap between the corporate world and creatives, right? So we get maybe a lawyer, maybe an accountant, maybe, like one project manager. I don't know what those roles could be, like a real corporate guy. You come with your idea. There's a structure. You say, I want to make a film, right? There's a structure. You decide maybe this film could be potentially enticing to any telco, to maybe a company.
Unions or institutions that we all subscribe to, and they set standards in terms of regulation and all that. I think that's where we're headed. We're still young as an economy. We're still discovering so many things, but I agree. The industry needs to be structured. The industry needs standards. The industry needs governing bodies that we all legitimately subscribe to. The same way you see the Uganda Communications Commission regulating anything communications and everything. I think as an industry, we also need that, and I think there are provisions for all that. The only problem or challenge I see with us is that we don't like reading. We don't like, because these things are there. We're not asking for permission.
I see.
We don't need permission to form a union. We don't need permission to form an association. We don't need permission. We don't need anybody's permission to do these things. But these things are enshrined in our in our laws, and that govern us as a country and as sectors, and these acts are there. But we don't want to read and take advantage of these things. As one time I asked an artist, and I told him, if you arrested a hawker with your CD and you took them to a police station, what is the story? You find even the policeman doesn't know what law to charge the hawker with. Piracy, basically, perhaps even. So there has to be sensitization. We need to begin with sensitization, and how we can do that, again, is debatable. But we need to read, and those of us who are knowledgeable need to come out and share this information and tell guys, hey, this is actually available. Let's take advantage of it, and let's come together. Let's do this. But we need to be informed. But I agree. As a sector, we need to be structured. There has to be an association of cinematographers, videographers, editors, name it. There has to be the same way you see people are quick to organize awards. Award shows, music video awards, but you don't know what hip hop awards, but you don't know what's in the kitchen, what it takes someone like Ryonga and Avi or Big Trillo or Fefe Bossi to come up for you to reward him. You need to understand the process before. We're not going to organize awards. That is it's huge. That is for somebody else to do. But they have to understand before they reward us. They have to understand where we're coming from.
I see.
You understand? What is our pain? How do we want to be appreciated? Do you know what it takes to do an EP before you say I'm nominated in a certain category? You understand? So let's not again. These are the. I'm sorry, but these are the masqueraders I'm talking about. We need to weed out these middlemen. The middlemen who invented the sector. They need to be put in their spaces, and we operate from their spaces and let the creators do their thing. And then if you're a promoter, then you're dealing with something legit. But you find a promoter organizing something and all he wants is to sell tickets at the gate and sell alcohol and beverages and then food and you who actually attracts guys at that space. You go out with nothing. You saw a conversation over the weekend that was trending about DJs and bars. I mean, to me that's exciting. It falls right within my docket, and rightfully so. I'm doing something about it, and I have a very beautiful announcement I'll be making very soon.
Okay, I was hoping you make it here, but
yes, but you can imagine by the time DJs, a conversation about DJs dominates an entire weekend on the timelines on Facebook and across all social media platforms. It tells you that it's about time. This is
a big thing.
Yeah, the idea, the time for that idea is now ripe. It's unstoppable. So let's rise to the occasion. Those of us who are looked at as leaders, as market leaders, as sector leaders, all of us, we need to rise to the occasion and offer guidance to these other young people who are coming in so that we leave them in good hands. You understand? So it's very important.
And I want to be very respectful of your time. I know you have to be somewhere. Yeah, but I'm going to ask two questions before we wrap this up, right? So one is, and that was also what I was going to hint on, along with regulation, what you mentioned. One was with creating agencies, right? So in Hollywood, for example, there's an agency structure. Say an actor, you have an agent who does for you all the corporate nonsense. You start as a creative, and then they just for you everything else, right? Even as a filmmaker, you have an agent who will reach out to Netflix and say, hey, this guy has a movie, or, that kind of thing. And in Uganda, that's missing. Even if you're a filmmaker, most producers are basically people from agencies, right? A producer would go and say to MTN, we have this, we want to bring you on board. We already have this on board. The guy who makes the project, basically, non-creative guy who makes the project. And I don't know whether you see that as missing or that as relevant to our industry.
For me, again, in my humble opinion, let's rise to the occasion. Those of us who have built a following of, huge constituencies, huge admirers, let's use this power. Let's leverage off this power. If it's just like followers, influencers. It's just like influencers on social media. They've mastered the art of controlling their power. So even us who are in this space, who have some remotely acceptable authority and power, let's rise to the occasion and weed out the wannabes. Let's call them out. No, I'm not calling for war or whatever, but let's be real. Let's own our space. Let's own our space and let's channel our energy. Let's offer guidance where we genuinely think this. Obviously, you cannot please everybody, but there's room for all of us to rise to the occasion and do what needs to be done. But just like people like you, I mean, you're now, there's an influx in your office of people because you've done something. There's an alternative. You've done something amazing, and that attracts. It's a good thing. It's a good energy. It's a good vibe. So it attracts. People to you. So we need more people like you, more people like me to combine these voices and help those who haven't yet found their voices discover their voices. So we need to own our power, guys. Let's own our power.
As the creative,
power. There's some other kind of controversial power, but our power. Let's own our power, guys, as creatives. Okay. Let's rise to the occasions and weed out those who are masquerading. Getting into this space and
people who are trying to exploit the industry.
Yes, and exploit the industry.
I see.
Yes, so let's rise. Let's call these guys out and let's. You understand? This is a very humble submission.
I see.
Yes,
I
if you're a cinematographer somewhere and you have a huge following, that is power. Use it. If you're a videographer, if you're providing content, if you're a marketer, if you're into advertising, you're a writer, copywriter, whatever it is, you're a filmmaker. I would like to upload Pearl Magic and Amount Choice. What they've done for years, guys have been sitting on films, scripts, and all that. I had the honor of attending their first anniversary. It was amazing seeing filmmakers in one place. There was no politician. There the only VIP in the building was, I think, the MD and the ED, UCC. It was amazing to see these guys own their power, the Vijingos, the Vijingos of this world, the Ankansimes, Judiciana. There's so many. And for once, we have a channel that runs purely on Ugandan sitcoms and dramas, 24 hours. That is a big statement. So we need to fall in as well and push. Those guys have come in, they've given us that push, and now let's feed off that energy and also advance the movement. So let's own the power.
I see.
Our power!
Yeah. Get the red berets here now. Okay, so the last question. Yeah. Bush baby, right? What is that one thing? The legacy thing that you think after this, I am done, I'm ready to go back to Tororo. Is it Tororo to sit under a tree?
Well, as I hinted earlier on, I've had such intentions, to drop the mic. Some of them, they call it dropping the mic, take off the boots and everything. I've tried to run away from that. I've really tried, but it keeps following me. It just keeps following me. 1 minute, Rionga will call you Bush. This is the myth calls you Bush. This is some CEO calls you Bush. Come on. So I've just made peace with it, but I'm going to take it in moderation. Obviously, I also need time to enjoy my life, enjoy the little that I've achieved, that I'm comfortable with, that I've achieved as far as my journey is concerned. But I'm still here. I love it. I love it when I meet people I've interacted with in the past and they listen to what I said, or they liked what I said, and they actually put it in practice and they've become larger than life figures. And it just humbles me. There are news anchors, the producers, there are so many guys back end, there are public figures. It's like a proud father moment. Some are best friends, some are people there are some people I just talk to on phone and I hardly meet, and 1 minute someone is knocking at my gate with a package, a gift hamper, and it's from so and so. Thank you for recommending me. I got this job because of your recommendation. I got this job. There are so many humbling moments I've been through, and that keeps on following me. So I've made peace with it. It's probably I'm here for some time, but I'll take it in moderation because I'm also getting tired, and physically my energy is going, and
you have that one legacy thing.
Thankfully now we can work remotely, and we don't have to move up and down. But in terms of a legacy,
you've done it all.
I just don't want to be forgotten.
Yeah,
you can use that. You can define that.
True. Makes sense.
I don't want to be forgotten. Again, I'm not an angel. I've had my fair share of mistakes. Made some, not enemies, but bad vibes. But that's life. We're human beings. Human. So I just don't want to be forgotten. Honestly, the legacy thing. Thankfully, I have somebody I'm grooming to take over that.
I see.
I hope he picks up and he falls in love with my efforts really do. But beyond that, I have so many ambassadors. There are so many ambassadors. The industry has so many individuals sprinkled in my DNA, and it just warms my heart. And that's my legacy basically.
I agree.
It's not coming; it's here.
Yeah,
it's already here. So those people speak for me. The people who came for me through that unfortunate, that tragic event. Those people, that's my legacy. They're here. So I don't think there's any other powerful legacy than that. Having impact on people. I don't think. I wish I could leave behind buildings, plazas, plaza. I wish, but that's not my kind of thing. Just having a good impact on people.
Staying in people's hearts.
Staying in people's hearts.
I see. Yeah, well, thanks again for accepting our invite. I have to return here to
really
honored.
For hosting me. Stay resilient, keep doing the good work, just keep producing and sharing. Keep the flywheel spinning. That's the only way. And again, own that power.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Our approach has always zeroed around being the owners of this. Well, thanks a lot. Thank you very much. This has been good.